Greg, I turn to you and say top returning quarterbacks in the sport are?
Well, number 5 could have been about 10 different guys, and our producer Jeff will attest. I think I changed it 17 times. Jordan Travis comes in as my number 5. I'm basing this a little bit on upside. He did such a great job progressing from where he was early in his career, where last year he became not just the focal point of that offense, but the dependable leader that he needs to be if he's going to elevate them to the next level. The most underrated player in college football might be Jalen Daniels. Nobody talks about this guy. When we put our list together of top 100 players in America, the experts had him at number 44. Well, yes, he did miss some time last year, but if you look at the numbers, just ridiculous. Michael Penix comes in at number 3 at Washington last year. Just a remarkable job playing within that offense. Tremendous supporting cast. More on them in a little bit. But he had such a great first year with Ryan Grubb, his offensive coordinator, and Kalen DeBoer. They obviously are now going to need to back it up with significant expectations heading into the season. And the top 2 are fairly easy. If you don't know by now, Caleb Williams is 1 and Drake May is 2. And to be honest with you, the gap is a little bit closer than I think some people might realize. Now, Drake May last year didn't play great down the stretch, but if you look at how he was able to keep plays alive, he's tremendous. And then Caleb Williams, there's nobody like him in college football. So accurate, so athletic, being able to keep plays alive, makes everyone around him better. And even if all 10 other offensive players are having an off day, that offense is still probably going to get to 40-plus points.
Yeah, so there is the top 5, according to Greg McElroy, of returning quarterbacks here on our Power Ranking show. And Sam, you get the sense that this is a Caleb Williams celebration tour, the college football season this year.
It's more than a sense, Joe. It's the reality. I mean, even last year, the way that he went out, he's coming back almost guaranteeing victories, guaranteeing playoff appearances. And it's one thing to win a Heisman. It's another thing to win a Heisman, but also get injured in such a way he did in the bowl game last year. So now you're coming back with an even bigger chip on your shoulders. So I believe that everyone believes that Caleb Williams is a cut above, but all those names on the list, Jalen Daniels especially. I mean, before the injury, they were 5-0, undefeated, top-ranked team. Then he goes down, then Kansas starts to fall. And so I love the list. Jordan Travis could be higher, but to your point, you could switch that list 17 different times.
There's no Cam Rising.
Right.
Like, there's a
bunch
bunch
of the injury.
Sure, but
right?
Don't bet against Cam Rising.
Right. He's a tough guy.
So, there's so many. The position right now, and we haven't even gotten to the transfer guys. Those are just guys that are returning to their school. When we get to the transfer guys, you're going to realize the quarterback position is in remarkably strong hands going into this year. I mean, the Pac-12 alone, there's no Bo Nix on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pac-12 alone, you can make
what
a case.
Second act for Bo Nix.
Unbelievable.
Going up from Auburn to Oregon and doing that.
Just across the board, though, the position's really strong. There's no Jaden Daniels from LSU. There's no KJ Jefferson from Arkansas. No Quinn Ewers from Texas.
Well,
I mean, you go down the list.
SEC quarterbacks on that list was not an SEC quarterback.
Not a single one.
This is life after Bryce Williams.
It could have been all Pac-12, and you could have made a justifiable list. So the position's in really good hands heading into this year. Now it's about who can elevate their team to the point in which it leads to wins and losses.
I don't think there is any bigger change in college football in recent years than the impact that the transfer portal makes, and obviously the eligibility rules. So let's get into it. The top 5 transfer quarterbacks according to one Sam Acho.
And I went back and forth like Greg on this one, but number 5, I'm going to go with Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne struggled last year. Even the last 2 years, he has 21 interceptions. But 2 years ago, he led the Michigan State football team to as high as a number 3 ranked team, 11 wins, 2 losses. And so, number 1, you have him. Then you add Hugh Freeze, who has coached a lot of great quarterbacks. Number 4, I'm going to go with DJ Uiagalelei. Why DJU? Well, he had a 61% completion percentage last year, and sometimes all you need is a change of scenery. I was at Clemson's practice just a few days ago, and obviously they're excited about Cade Klubnik, but DJU was a starter when the season started. Number 3, Tanner Mordecai, over 7,000 yards over the last 2 years. But it's not just what he did at SMU, it's what he's going to be doing with Phil Longo, who was the offensive coordinator at North Carolina. He's a prolific passer. He's going to have a great running attack, but the ball is going to be up in the air. Number 2, it's Devin Leary. He's had an injury history. Even last year, he had some pec issues, didn't play well at the end of the season. But when he is healthy, even 2 years ago is a testament to that. Has 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, nearly 3,500 passing yards. And then Liam Cohen, who's the offense coordinator for Will Levis a few years ago, is now back. And then number 1, I'm going to go with Sam Hartman. There's no other quarterback in college football right now that will have as big of an impact as he will when it comes to transfers. He's the highest-rated quarterback in passing touchdowns and passing yards out of all active quarterbacks. So that's my top 5 list. A couple names are left out that we could talk about, Sanders being one of them. But I like this list because there's a little bit of upside because you don't know what's going to happen, almost like with Max Duggan last year.
Isn't it interesting to see DJU there, because it was only a couple years ago he was going to be the next great one at Clemson, but careers never stay the same. Players don't stay the same. But he's out there on a very good Oregon State team that's going to have a chip on their shoulder, Greg, the musical chairs of conference realignment, and they got a chair that pulled out, and that's a good team.
Really good team, and a team whose identity is clearly established. And I tell you what is not established is the position that he's playing. We know the offensive line's one of the best in America. We'll talk about them down the road as we get further into our top 5 rankings. We know the run game with Martinez is going to be dynamic. Now you add a quarterback that excels, albeit, hey, DJ struggled at Clemson. We're not going to try to pretend and say that he didn't play great, didn't process very well, missed some easy throws, made some poor decisions. But he's a great athlete. And people don't realize he's a really capable runner. Now, he's not going to take off and go 80, but he can keep you honest in the 10, 15, 20-yard range. Now, if he can complement that run game with his own legs, that's going to go a long way. And there's one thing he did do well at Clemson was off-play action. He can push the ball down the field.
Hey,
if that run game gets going, man, look out. That could be a really nice marriage.
I completely agree. I want to ask you a question about Sam Hartman. You have him number 1. Obviously, he had a great career before he even arrives at Notre Dame. But the transition of what he was doing offensively at Wake with that slow mesh and now going to this offense at Notre Dame, is it an easy fit?
I don't think it's an easy transition per se, but I do think it's an easy fit. Notre Dame had a couple losses last year that we questioned, man, how do you lose a game like this? Well, you could oftentimes point to the quarterback play. And so I think the fit of a quarterback like Sam Hartman, all that he's seen, all that he's accomplished over his college career matters more than the transition from that slow mesh, we call it the claw fence, to what he's going to be doing now.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.